Oh, dang. I mean, it's just never ending, isn't it? So, John Schmidt on Indie News 3 weeks ago, right? And it just so happened, that when Colorado CBI were in Indianapolis or Indiana or wherever John Schmidt is, when they were down there talking to people who know the Morphews and know the Mormons about Barry Morphew and about Suzanne Morphew, Felix's worker just happened to turn up. And so John Schmidt says, "Hey, Felix, why don't you just come over here and talk to these officers about what happened with Barry Morphew on site." And oh boy, I mean, I didn't know it was like this. I had no idea it was this bad. I mean, the things that were going on, and Felix told them, and I'm listening, and it was so bad, and something else has got to go on here other than just, someone's upset because of we're putting in electricity or taking scaffolding down. I mean, something else was going on. And then I was talking to Lisa and worked out that through Edge Mentoring, I know Andy's son. And it's such a small world, it's, such a strange little world. I mean, okay, this is painted as, first these people tell it like they've got first-hand knowledge, but then it all comes out later that, they separate their personal selves, but they make sure that they're still telling you the story. So now this time it's through someone called Felix, who just happened to drop in on John while he was talking to the cops about Barry Morphew, and just casually threw it in that there is a connection between Schmidt and the Mormon family, because that might have come out if anyone dug around a little bit. And, this is just the way it's gone this whole entire time, isn't it? Just keeps on rolling this way. Oh, Suzanne was going to domestic violence counselling. Well, hold on a minute. Was that through her charity? Oh, yes, it was. It was through a charity. It was, because young women who may not have self-esteem, who may not have been brought up in a household like the Morphew household where the girls have been raised with self-esteem, or, maybe there was a reason why it was close to their heart, and Suzanne wanted to help other young women develop confidence and be safe in the world. That couldn't possibly be it, could it? Someone just has zero qualms at all about having you think whatever he wants. And it's a pattern. You talk about patterns. That's a damn pattern. That is the pattern. That is, in fact, one of the most outstanding patterns. The pattern being something will come out of Andy Mormon's mouth. He's now told the Daily Mail, or rather, this is what they've printed, that he was told by law enforcement about the home smelling of chlorine. But, a while back he told Profiling Evil, when he was being interviewed by them, he told them that, oh, no, I mean, this is someone told someone who told me. Again, there's always this separation. Better just, just enough, get that separation. But it allows someone to say the words out loud, doesn't it? Plant those seeds. And it's so underhanded. And I think that tells you how someone operates. That tells you how someone operates. Oh, the investigation has been of concern from the start with law enforcement. I mean, that's true, because there's been several assumptions that I've made, and I know not to make assumptions, so it was a bit silly, but things that you might assume. When you find out about Holiday Inn Express site, you assume that law enforcement were down there immediately. They sent a couple of officers, they interviewed who they needed to. They got the footage from the cameras. They took photos. They saw the room, interviewed staff, interviewed other guests who were staying at the time, and maybe just got in contact with other people, asked them if they wouldn't mind saying if they had seen or heard anything. So that was something I assumed. I also assumed that when it became knowledge in June that Barry Morphew had purchased a property, a plot, I think you call it there. We call it a section or a block here in Australia. So when he'd bought the block, or under the auspicious, I guess, that he's building a home for his mum at Longhorn Ranch, just outside of Salida, you assume, okay, well, the cops sort of searched there as well. They would have asked for permission, would have gone there, or they would have got a warrant maybe, but maybe they didn't need a warrant because they got permission to go and just look on the land. Maybe they weren't able to look at the whole 35-hectare subdivision because maybe there's a lot of titles. But you just assume they've gone there. You assume they've flown drones maybe a few times. Well, that hadn't happened, so that's a bit ridiculous. And I would have hoped, not that I'm law enforcement and have any knowledge whatsoever, but just as a concerned member of public, what I would assume happened would be that they've followed up the campground where Mallory and Macy were and just checked the dates and times that they arrived and left, and maybe spoke, I don't know, was it just a national park where they have to pay a ranger? Maybe didn't see anyone. Was it an actual official camping ground where there's facilities? They could maybe dispatch someone local just to go out and have a look. Etc., etc. See the photographs, see Mallory and Macy's phones, see what sort of contact they were having with other people while they're there, the photos that they took of their holiday, just general stuff, just tick it off the list. I also would have hoped and assumed that everybody at the RV park, a mile or two east of the home, the Maysville Puma Path home, would have been checked out. So permanent residents, if there are any, all the shop owners, apparently it's a nice kitsch little village there. Maysville sounds like it's, really out of the way, and indeed living in the mountains is. But it actually is quite the little hubbub of a community there in Maysville. It's a tourist attraction. You've got Monarch Pass, you've got the RV park, you've got the subdivision that the Morphews live in. So it's actually quite a little hive of activity. It's not like there's a home every mile and that's it sort of thing. So the RV park, who lives there, who's there at the time, who was there before and after, people who left on the Friday, on the Saturday, on the Sunday, on the Monday, were they followed up, called, checked, doesn't matter where they are, Nebraska, Canada, New York, Nova Scotia, Ohio, Arizona, wherever they've gone, spoken to personally and kept being followed up until they were spoken to and checked off. Those sort of movements. I mean, that is something, surely this is all part and parcel, isn't it? Surely. Because how do you move someone in an RV? How easy is that? I don't know, you just feel like, well, isn't this what a task force does, is tick these things off the list? Because it's a process of elimination, because you're not supposed to just hone in on one single thing, are you? Because it's been made to seem like Barry has been throwing out a whole lot of lies and things. I mean, I know that his behaviour's been very strange with, the things he's said and done or not done, etc., etc. But he could be an arsehole. He could be a man that seems quite paranoid and scared. And, who knows? But, if there's no evidence of any sort of physical struggle in the home, and I don't think chlorine can be taken as that, because when you've got someone that's a cancer survivor, you're surely keeping that home clean. And I don't know. I mean, you'd be checking, okay, so the Morphews, do they have a housekeeper? How often does the housekeeper come? Because that's a large home for Suzanne to manage on her own in some regards. And often when people do have, enough of a regular income or family money or any sort of stash, when you can afford $1.5 million home, you've got cleaners. So what about the groundskeeper? What about the housekeeper? Are they under instructions to, like we're doing all the COVID cleaning. Everywhere you go, there's hand sanitizer and there's, no one's going to have any basic immunity anymore because we're using too much hand sanitizer, etc., etc. Everything's being wiped down and clean, and there's protocols. And did Suzanne Morphew want to follow some cleaner protocols in her home because her immunity puts her at risk? So I don't know. It's all very weird. So the second search warrant happens and there's no arrest. But, are there these things that weren't done that I've thought, okay, well, have they ticked these off the list? Surely they have. So, Longhorn Ranch, is that a cross? Campground, is that a cross? RV park, I mean, transient, people with a ways and a mean and time and, is that actually a cross? Why are there all these gaps in the investigation? And is that why it didn't go anywhere? Because there's just been this laser beam focus and that hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah. I mean, look, I imagine there's a lot of bodies around Colorado, but, I guess if Barry has moved some of those rocks that the scent dog and cadaver dogs, are marking, well, but how many rocks would have Suzanne's scent? She'd have to be touching it. How many rocks has she touched? Is it because the dozer was there? Was she physically on the dozer without anything in between her and the dozer? I mean, if you look at things like, if you look at Madeleine McCann case, where you've got Madeleine McCann's parents' hotel room at the Ocean Resort in Pradaloo having bloodhound and cadaver hound in the room, you've got 70 hits, you've got blood, 17, you've got blood and cadaver hits in a vehicle, and in the hotel room you've got a wardrobe where a bag had been seen, and that is where a cadaver dog, gave a mark. You've got behind a sofa, you've got bushes outside. There's several places under a window. A lot of blood was found under floor tiles. Blood was found in a car with 14 out of 17 14 out of 17 markers in DNA that could be tested out of that blood. as showing as a match to Madeline McCann. I think I'm getting my figures confused because I've still got a migraine. I apologise. Sounds like I don't know that case, but I know that case really well. But it doesn't just mean that someone can be arrested. It obviously hasn't in that case anyway. Without someone's body, it can be quite difficult. And then even with someone's body, it can take a long time, you see, because the case that I've mentioned before with regards to why Barry's daughters, could really struggle with wanting to abandon their father, even if they had some sort of knowledge or what have you. It's the Rivstrisky case here where Boris killed his wife Karen, and she was found 8 months later just in woodland between some logs, and it was 2 more years before he actually was convicted of the murder, and that was with her body. And Sarah, Boris and Karen's daughter, she can't abandon her father because that's her only surviving parent, and he is a link to her mother. They, for all intents and purposes, for what she has told people, they were a very, very close family up until, this cataclysmic event. Yeah, there's just been so much bullshit and jelly beans is what I call it, bullshit and jelly beans, because things just get spread around and just pressed out there like that before it's qualified or confirmed. And, I think it's clear that we really need law enforcement to make quite a clear statement if they can. But perhaps they don't like being told what to do by someone stamping their foot too, and it's not about putting a price on someone and sort of capping it, although funding is an issue for every department, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, how many other missing people are there in Colorado? There's probably hundreds that are in dire need of being found. Hundreds out of how many that could be murder victims. I mean, we don't know. We don't know if Suzanne... I mean, to me, it somehow seems like Suzanne might have left that home alive. Somehow. I don't know. But with whom? And what vehicle? If it's Barry that took her somewhere to murder her, she would, of course, just go with him, just like that. There'd be no sign of a struggle, nothing unusual whatsoever, other than she is not there. It'd be great to have the phone cleared up. I mean, maybe there's an anomaly. Maybe Barry, hey, if he was texting as Suzanne, maybe he was texting as her from somewhere that wasn't the home. Maybe law enforcement do have the phone. What's this all about a journal? That's just gossip as well. And people generally don't just have one. They'll have a collection. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying here. It's just how many balls have been dropped or how many are being juggled. You just want everything to be going along as well as can be expected, and law enforcement have been, it's not like, it's not like the FBI haven't been involved since very early on. So there have been, people with further specialist training in there helping Chaffey County for a long time. So you hope that they've been driving the investigation in absolutely the right direction. So does that make you think, well, they've thought that it's someone other than Barry Morphew? Because if they, right, little carnivore dog, if they didn't really check out this hotel properly, if they didn't really check out Longhorn Ranch at all, if they haven't done a few things, are they aiming in a direction and it's not Barry, but they have a strong idea? But then you would think it would be players that we've been introduced to and players that possibly were at the Holiday Inn Express in Broomfield. Yeah, I mean, and how do you move a body around like that? Just, is it under the cover of darkness all the time? I mean, Barry would know that phone records and vehicle records could be gotten at any time if someone was found, or if, things went to trial, or I don't know. So, I mean, it seems very risky. So who else might be involved that's been doing this? I mean, is it a case that everyone is labouring under a completely incorrect assumption that there can be only Barry if there's a suspect? I mean, to say you can't leave the home just means that, okay, well, this is where the crime initiated from, whether it's abduction or actually a violent act that occurred there. But if it's an abduction, I mean, anyone could have come in and taken Suzanne or gotten her to go with them, with her not suspecting anything, maybe, under some sort of fake, oh, hey, I was told to come and get you for a surprise. Or, hey, honey, come with me. Come with me into Denver. Come with me for Mother's Day. We'll spend the day together. You can go shopping and etc. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I were Suzanne Morphew and if my daughters were away on a trip and my husband was away working on that day and it's a lovely day, so likely, it's so something that I would do, would be to hop on my cycle and go out for some beautiful exercise, just enjoy the wilderness, get down into town. It's 100% believable as something someone would do, whether Suzanne did it or not. I mean, that would be 100% something. And I mean, if someone said, shit, if my sister wasn't around, shit, where is she? What would I do? I mean, I would, okay, where are the running shoes that she's wearing? Where's her, how many pairs of running shoes are in the laundry? Okay, is there a pair missing? Could she have gone for a run? Okay, how long would she be away? Okay, well, it's been longer than an hour. Where would she normally go? Go and check those spots. Is she at a cafe? Is she doing some shopping? That's not really what she would do when she's out on her run. So, you know when to panic or not, but you would know that that might be something she would do. Go into the office to deal with some paperwork or pick something up. go for a run? Where are the children? Did she go to pick up the children? Etc., 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 etc. And to me, that would be something I'd go, okay, look, I don't want to panic. I'm panicking, but let's just check. Is the bicycle there? Or, is the Vespa scooter there? Did she, has she just nipped away for something? Okay, if the car's there, but is the Vespa there? Is the bicycle there? Are the running shoes there? Are her Birkenstock shoes on the mat where she normally leaves them outside the front door, etc., etc., etc. You would want to check because you want to know how panicked you should be or where you're going to look next. That does make perfect sense to me. But there's people saying, the bike was wiped clean. I mean, have law enforcement told us that, have they? I mean, really? Why are people saying that? That's just gossip, and that's dangerous gossip. Telling people that, because the strange thing about the bicycle is, number one, it's the bent wheel. Number one, that it's no damage. Number one, that it's Barry knew which way it was facing. Number one, it's there at all. It's, the bike was found. Law enforcement couldn't find any prints at all. Well, some surfaces don't hold prints, depending on what style of bicycle Suzanne's got. With her seat, etc., she might have sweated those off if she's touched the seat. The rusty metal, is it a new bike? Is there grease where she should have left a fingerprint? What type of grips are on the handlebars? Because some of them are of the type that you just would not get a print of. Would it be weird if there's no print on the crossbar? Possibly. Might depend on what type of gloves Suzanne wore. Looks like she might have worn fingerless gloves. Were there other types of gloves that she wore when she was cycling in the mountains? Because maybe she wanted extra protection in the mountains and wore gloves that just had the full finger with the grip on them, because I've actually got some of those for winter cycling, because I don't want my finger tips out either. So I actually wear gloves. I've got running gloves, I've got cycling gloves, I've got motorcycle gloves. None of those are fingerless, and I've got fingerless pairs as well. So, there's instances where you might not even expect to have fingerprints on a bike. But is that something law enforcement have come out and said? And if not, well, that's just a lie. That's just something people are making up because they want support in their beliefs. So, wow, this has just gone on long enough. Will I post it? Well, it'll be up to you to listen. As I always say right at the end, which is no use to anybody, listen at 2.0, and then it'll only take you a quarter of an hour to get through. Maybe you do want to listen while you're doing the dishes or something. Who knows? Yeah. I'm thinking of you all out there, my listeners, because a lot of us are feeling a lot of tension about this now, and it's making us feeling quite ill. I'm thinking of you all. I hope you have a pleasant night, or rather day, if you're over on the other side of the world. And we'll speak again soon. See you later.